Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle and I'm so excited that you are here. Today I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about the best/worst books from my favorite authors. I feel like worst is a very harsh word because these are my favorite authors. I'm doing contemporary authors, and then I think I'm going to do a historical romance one, and so I'm very excited for this video. I have about 11 authors, some of my all-time favorites, and so my version of worst is just not liked as much. Some of them are, I still give them 5 stars, but I like other ones better than that one, if that makes sense. So let's get right into this video. So we're first going to start off with Candy Steiner. So I'm going to first do worst to best, and so the worst book, or my least favorite by her, is The Right Player. So this one is a football romance. It is set in Chicago, and our hero is coming from Hawaii to be on the Chicago football team, and he meets the heroine, who I think she's an interior designer, and she absolutely detests football players. She dated one in college. He absolutely broke her heart, and so now she is set off against football players, and so they start dating, and he lies to her about being a football player, and so I didn't love that. I did love the hero. I thought the hero was the sweetest hero. Absolutely adored the heroine, but I just did not love how we have this glooming thing over their relationship, and it just was not the best and not my favorite from Candy. But yeah, that is my worst book from Candy Steiner, or least favorite. My favorite book from Candy Steiner is A Love Letter to Whiskey. This one is my absolute favorite from her. I remember vividly reading this book in 3 hours because I just had to know if they were going to end up together, because the whole time you're like, I don't know if they're going to be together. Now this book is super duper angsty. I hated this book reading it, but then loved it, if that makes sense. So this is the epitome of right person, wrong time romance. And so our hero and heroine first grew up together in high school, got to know each other their senior year while the hero was dating the heroine's best friend, and then they go off to college, and they started having this connection and wanting to get to know each other better. But then she's in a relationship, and it's this tug and pull, so much angst, so much tension. They feel like they're toxic to each other, but they love each other so much. And this book is just incredible. I absolutely love it. So good. If you love angst, I recommend this one. If you don't love angst, I would not read this book, because it is very, very angsty to the point where you might hate this book. But I love angst, I love mess, and I absolutely adore this one. The next author I'm going to talk about is Penelope Douglas. So the worst book, or my least favorite book from Penelope Douglas, is Until You. So this is a part of her Fall Away series. This is the second book in that series. Well, kind of 2.5 maybe. But this is just the first book from the hero's point of view. So I just was like, meh, I didn't really need this book. This was in the time when doing two stories of the same, two books of the same story from 2 different POVs was very popular. So I just it felt unnecessary. I still love this story. Bully is one of my favorite bully romances of all time. It is so freaking good, and I just love that story. That was my first book from Penelope Douglas, but this was just kind of unnecessary, but I still absolutely adore Bully. It is so good. My favorite book from Penelope Douglas is Kill Switch. I absolutely adore this book so freaking much. I just love this series. This is the 3rd book in the series, and it follows Damon. So Damon was kind of the villain of the first 2 books. Everybody hated him. Everybody thought he was just this cruel, horrible person. But in this book, we really get his redemption story. And I did, like everybody else, hated him in the first 2 books. Couldn't understand him as a person. But this one is just so freaking good. So this follows Damon and Winter, and they were kind of not friends in high school, but he would always look out for her and stuff. And there was an instant where he was in an accident with her where she ended up coming out of that accident and being blind. So he feels very, very guilty about that, and so he kind of wanted to look after her after that incident, and they don't know like who did it, but it was him. And so now she's like back in high school. This is like the past, and they're seeing each other again, and he's creeping around her, and he has a lot of internal things going on, and they start a little bit hanging out. And then if you know this series, the like 3 out of the 4 like men in the series go to jail in the first book because of they have this thing called Devil's Night, and they all get like caught doing something really, really bad, and so they go to jail. And so now it is the future, and him and Winter are seeing each other again, and she is just like, what is he doing here again? Like, why is he back? Why is he near me again? And it's kind of this hate to love romance. It is so good. And I just like really, really love this one. I love Damon's character. He's very morally gray. We get a lot of his past and why he is the way he is in this one. And it is just so incredible. I just love Damon's character, and I love Winter and how strong she is and how she just will like fight against him. And the thing that I really loved about this book is that I feel like Penelope Douglas did a really good job of not using Winter's blindness, like of not having Damon use Winter's blindness against her and being cruel to her in that way. And I just like really loved the way she portrayed Winter in this story, and it was just incredible. I just really, really love this book. Okay, so the next author is Sarah J Maas. So my least favorite book from her is Throne of Glass. I feel like this is a pretty like obvious answer. I just like didn't love the first book in Throne of Glass. It is just like the first book where it's a lot of world building, getting to meet characters, setting up the scenes for the next couple of books. So it's just like not my favorite, but my favorite book is Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. So I've read all of the ACOTAR books, and I do love the ACOTAR books, but I feel like this one had so much more action, especially like versus Akamath. And this one just like, I feel like really captures her amazing writing, and it had a lot of action, it had romance, it had thrill in it. It was kind of a murder mystery a little bit, and I just love this book so much. So if you haven't read Crescent City, this whole series revolves around this like city and world that is basically an urban fantasy setting where it's in like the real world but with like different types of creatures. So there is wolves, fae, mermaids. What else is there? There's different like creatures. I think there's like demons maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like demons. There's ghouls. Anything you could really think of. I don't think there's vampires, if I can like be sure. I don't really remember. Oh, there's also like witches. And this specific story revolves around Bryce, and she is trying to figure out what happened to her best friend who was murdered. And then now the thing that murdered her, they think, is coming back. And so she is tasked with trying to figure out this mystery, and she is paired up with Hunt, who is the hero, and they have to work together to solve this mystery and find out what was going on. And it's very, very good. That's all I'm gonna say. It's amazing. I really, really love this one. The next author I have is Kristen Becca Ritchie. So my least favorite is Thrive. So this is a part of the Addicted series, and I think this is like the 4th book in this series, but like they're interconnected with the Calloway Sisters series. And this is basically just a replay story of what happened in Hothouse Flower, and just like going back through Lillian Lowe's like POV. I found this really boring. I feel like I would have liked it more if I didn't read this series back to back, because I was just devouring it and wanting to see what happened with these characters. But this was just like boring to me. I was just like, why do we need to have a reverse POV of Lillian Lowe from this whole story that we already read in the past book? And it just felt boring. I was skimming through it. I just hated it. And it was not a great experience. And it's just my least favorite from them. Now my favorite is Hothouse Flower. This one is amazing. This is Reich and Daisy's story. It's incredible. I couldn't choose between Kiss the Sky and Hothouse Flower. I love them both, but I think I liked Hothouse Flower more, but this, like, Reich and Daisy's story is an age gap, kind of forbidden romance. He's only like 6 years older than her. She is a model and it's friends to lovers, and in this one he just is with her and it's their romance. I don't want to spoil anything, but it is very, very good. Daisy is a model and she feels a lot of pressure from her mother to be perfect all the time and be like this beautiful doll, and Reich is just really there for her, and being like, you know, you can let loose, you can be who you want to be, like, find yourself. And he's very into adventure. He loves rock climbing. He just says what he needs to say to people, and I love that about him. And he's just like my favorite character. I just like love him so much. Okay, so the next author I'm going to talk about is Sophie Lark. So my least favorite book from her is sadly Anastasia. I just did not love this book as much as a lot of people did. What I liked about the book, and I've talked about this before, is I really loved the fantasy aspect and the world building of the story, and how Sophie Lark put so much history of the Romanovs in this story and dedicated so much time making sure everything was perfect, and I really appreciated that about this book. But I felt like the romance got a little lost in translation in this story. It definitely felt more fantasy than romance. It felt a little YA because of the age of the characters, but I did really love the overall story. I just felt like it was really, really long. I felt like it would have been better broken up in maybe like 3 books or 2 books, or maybe less about like the fantasy and world building and more about the romance. But I did enjoy it. But my favorite book, probably nobody's surprise, is The Bully. I absolutely adore this book. It is so freaking good. I love Dean. I've talked about this like a couple times in the past couple of videos I've done, but I just love Dean so much. I think he is such a great character. He is morally gray. He gets obsessed and possessive with his heroine, with Kat. Touch her and you die, very protective over her, and the way that Sophie Lark describes this is that it's kind of like a Draco Malfoy retelling where he gets the story he deserves, and I'm here for it. I just like love Dean so much. I think he is such a great character. I love his romance. This one's very spicy. They do a lot of kinky stuff, and it's just so good. So this is a mafia romance, and this is a series that revolves around this university in Romania, where it is a university for the children of mafia leaders around the world, and so they all come to train to be leaders in the mafia or be in the mafia, like enforcers, spies, all that good stuff. And so Dean in the last book saw Kat doing something very suspicious and bad, and now he has this information and he's holding it over her to bully her into whatever he wants to do with her. And it's very good. The next book, author that I'm going to talk about is Pam Godwin. So my least favorite book from her, I think it's called Buckled. If it's not, I'll put the right one up, but it's the second series in her like dark cowboy romance series. This book is not my favorite. I loved the first book, Knotted is so good, but this one was kind of weird. It's like it's the brother in this series, this like family, and he basically kidnaps this journalist that was like going around the ranch and takes her and is like, you were gonna stay with us, and if you want to learn stuff, you're gonna stay with us. And then they start doing some like BDSM stuff, and I just felt it was very lackluster. I didn't love it. I loved the first one so much more. The first book is very emotional and deep, and I felt a real connection to it, but this one I just didn't love as much, so that's why it's my least favorite. But my favorite from her is Sea of Ruin. This book is incredible. So it is a pirate triangle romance, and our heroine is a female pirate and captain, and she took over this ship from her father, who was a pirate, a famous pirate, and she is trying to escape her ex-husband, who is trying to capture her, and she ends up getting captured by this pirate hunter, and she starts falling for him. It's kind of captive, very, very dark. It does deal with lots of dark subject matters, so definitely check the triggers for this one, but it was incredible. I love the romance between both of the heroes. It was like fantastic. It's so good, and it's just like amazing. It gives you all the feels. It's like a dark Pirates of the Caribbean romance, but like so much better, and I just absolutely love this one. All right, so the next author I'm going to talk about is Tilly Cole. I love Tilly Cole. I love her motorcycle romance series. I just absolutely adore it. But my least favorite is Sick Fucks. I do not like that book. This is a dark romance, Sick Fucks is, and I just like don't love the things in this book. So it's about two characters who were in a really bad situation. They were basically both abused when they were children, abused, sexually abused, assaulted, raped. And then one of them gets out of it, and then the other is still stuck in it, and so the hero is the one that got out, and so he's trying to go save the heroine, and the heroine now is in like her own world just to block out the trauma, and it's them getting revenge on the people who did this to them. What I did like the revenge plot, I really did like that, but what I didn't love was that we had on-screen on-screen page of this abuse going through the mind of like an 11-year-old and this happening to them. Like, we were the POV of, the reader was the POV of them, and like very descriptive, and I can take a lot of stuff, but I just can't take like on-screen page of child abuse. That just is one of my triggers, and it was a lot. It was very prevalent throughout the whole story, so I just like didn't love this one. And I know a lot of people do, and that's totally fine, and I don't judge you at all if you love this book, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, not for me. But my favorite book, I think, by Tilly Cole is Deep Redemption. I think this is the 4th book in this motorcycle romance series, and it revolves around a cult and these motorcycle biker guys helping these women escape this religious cult, and then their romances. And so this one is about Kane, who is actually the prophet of the cult, but he is basically being forced into this situation, and he wants to get out of it, and he this new, like, gosh, I can't remember the word that they use in this book, but it's like this new woman is coming to like the like cult place and coming in, and she is going to be like the new wife for him, I think. And so she is like imprisoned and all this crazy stuff, and he helps her escape. And that's all I'm going to say. It's so good. You definitely have to read this series in order, because there's an overarching like theme of the cult and like the storyline of what's going on with the cult. But it is very good. It is dark. It deals with abuse, abuse of children, sexual abuse. So definitely look up all the triggers for this one, but I just love this book so much. I loved Kane, and how he did bad things, but that doesn't make him a bad man, and I just love this romance. I love this story. It was really fantastic. The next author I'm going to talk about is QB Tyler. So my least favorite is Unconditional. This is a forbidden age gap, like guardian ward romance, and the reason why it's my least favorite is because it is just like has a lot of spice and not a ton of plot, which I do love, but I feel like there's so many more like better books by QB Tyler that I love. And so in this story, our heroine, her parents get murdered, and she is being taken into custody of the hero, who is a police officer. And so she basically grows up from like age 5 with the police officer, which is the hero, and so she starts kind of getting a crush on him and feelings for him, and then they start a relationship. I liked it. It was very spicy and fun, but it's definitely not my favorite from QB Tyler. But it was pretty good. I liked it. My favorite from QB Tyler is Forget Me Not. This book is so good. This is a marriage and trouble romance. The hero gets amnesia, and they're going through the throes of divorce, and he doesn't remember the last 2 years of their marriage. He only remembers them being happy and in love, and so now they have to figure out if they want to stay together or get a divorce. It's very angsty, emotional, amazing. I love this book so much. The next author I'm going to talk about is Kennedy Ryan. My least favorite is Flow, because it's just a novella. It's very short. I couldn't like pick a least favorite because I just love all of her books so much. It's about our hero and heroine, and she is the sister of the hero's best friend, and she's coming into town to stay with them, and the hero and her kind of start a romance, and it's the start of a trilogy, so this is like the first book. I enjoyed it, but I'm very excited to get to the rest of the series. I know it's gonna like emotionally destroy me, but I'm like putting it off, but I want to read it. It's just I need to be in the right mindset for it, so this is just my least favorite because it's very short, but that's really it. I love all Kennedy Ryan's books. My favorite by Kennedy Ryan is the Kingmaker series. This series is just amazing. It spans years. It's kind of hate to love, second chance. It's amazing. There's some action in it, office, like they have to work together because she is I think it's like the campaign manager for his brother who is wanting to become the next president of the US, and she has to deal with her like ex kind of, which is the hero, and he has to win her back, and it's really, really good. I love this duet. It is just amazing. It's very emotional. It's so, so good. The next author I'm going to talk about is Katherine Coe. My least favorite is Snowbound. This is a novella. It's very short. That's why I said it was my least favorite. From the books that I've read so far from her, I've just loved all of them, and I couldn't like say what was my like least favorite or worst. I'm just choosing Snowbound because it was a novella. I mean, I did enjoy it. It was a short, good time, but it's not as good as her full-length novels. But my favorite one from her is Falling Embers. I really, really love this one. This is a single dad, friends to lovers romance, and the heroine actually has to stay with him because she's getting threats. She is like a dirt bike rider and does lots of tricks and posts those on those videos on like YouTube, and she starts getting threats, and he has always pushed her away. He knows that she's always kind of had a crush on him, but he never wanted to go there with her because he's afraid he's going to lose her, and that's why he's pushed her away. But now she has to stay with him and his two daughters, and they may or may not start rekindling a romance, and it's very, very good. I really love this one. It's one of my favorites from Katherine Coe. And lastly, my last author that I'm going to talk about is Gianna Darling. So my least favorite is a part of it's a duet, and that is the Enamored duet. This is just my least favorite because I just didn't really like vibe with this. It is kind of a slave romance. It is a sex slave romance, and she gets sold into sex slavery, and the hero is like her captive person. There was an interesting like plot twist in this one that I liked, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I don't really love like this type of romance with the tropes in this one. I do love dark romance, but I don't love like sex slavery. It has to be done right, I feel like, but I still gave this one 4 stars. It's still Gianna Darling, who I love, but it just like wasn't my favorite from her. My favorite book from Gianna Darling is Inked in Lies. I love this one. This is a friends to lovers, age gap, forbidden romance. It's fantastic. They grew up together, and he's a lot older than her, but it is really, really good. He gets very protective over her. She ends up going undercover, working for the motorcycle club at a like adult video like company, and it's known for being very abusive, and so she has to go undercover and pretend to be one of the girls working there, and the hero gets very protective, and it's very, very good. It's emotional. It is just amazing. I love this book. It's just so good, and I just love this whole series. It is incredible. Alright, well that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I just like love all of my favorite authors, and I really love doing this video. It was really fun, and seeing what my least favorite books are for my favorite authors. But I think I'm also going to do a historical version of this one, so let me know down below if you would like an historical romance version of this video. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon.